What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another segment of the Neighborhood Podcast. My name is Kevin Valentin. I'm one half of the podcast.
And I'm the other half of the podcast. My name is Kyle Dabro. Kevin, what do we got on the agenda?
We got probably the game of the year right here. This game last night, for sure, has to be up there with all the games that have happened in the regular season and throughout the postseason. We're talking about the Portland Trailblazers at the Denver Nuggets for Game 5, and we had an epic fucking thriller. The Nuggets squeaked by and won this game 147-140, but not because Damian Lillard did not produce, because I know that was the case last game. Let me give you a little rundown, Kyle, of this man's just quick box score numbers. Damian Lillard was 17 of 24 from the field, 12 of 17 from the three. He had 10 assists, 6 rebounds, 55 points. So, I think Dame time was present last night. There just wasn't enough battery left in the clock for the rest of the team to step up, because Damian Lillard broke the NBA record held by Klay Thompson for most threes in a playoff game with 12, and Klay had 11. So Dame went out there, dropped 55 on their head, and they still lost. So, Kyle, your initial reaction to this incredible blockbuster of a game?
You know, it's kind of weird that we're talking about a guy that had a stellar performance on the losing team instead of the team that actually won the game in double overtime. But just to kind of talk about Dame here for a second, look, he had to step up, because even though that the Portland Trailblazers won Game 4 by, I believe, 20 points, they really kind of blew the Nuggets out in Game 4. Dame only had 10 points in that game. So I think it was indicative on his part to step out and show the world, like, you know what, that was a bad Game 4 performance by me. I got to go out here and ball out and show what everybody thinks that I'm capable of. And dude, he did it and then some. If I don't know the box score off the top of my head, but I believe he was 17 of 24 from the field.
Yeah.
And he knocked down 12 3-pointers, like you mentioned. He was a man on the mission the entire night. And just to kind of kick it to the fourth quarter, he knocks down an unbelievable 3-pointer, probably like a 35-foot 3-point shot to tie the game that sends it into overtime. And then he comes back in overtime. Similar situation that takes place with like 10 seconds left in overtime. He pulls up. Actually, I take it back. He ends up doing a fadeaway 3-pointer just outside of the 3-point line and buries it. And Denver was actually playing good defense on that possession when they were up by 3 before Dame knocked down the 3. It's just they couldn't stop him. I mean, Austin Rivers said after the game, it didn't matter whether we had one hand in his face, 2 hands in his face. He was just knocking down shots all night. I even remember one of the highlights that popped up where he missed a shot in the second overtime. And Austin Rivers, like, he prayed to the heavens, like, thank God he finally missed a shot. And then Denver kind of took advantage of it in the second overtime. They were able to get the win to take a 3-2 series lead. And I know we talked a lot about Dame here, but Nikola Jokic had a very good night. Michael Porter Jr. stepped up from that horrific Game 4 that he had in Portland, where he only scored 3 points. So he definitely stepped up. I believe Monte Morris, am I getting his name right?
Yeah.
He had a stellar game as well. He almost had 30 by himself. So Denver, all in all, stepped up when they needed to, and they were able to combat one of the best individual performances that we've seen, not only just this year, but in NBA history in the playoffs. Damian Lillard was unbelievable. I mean, Kevin Durant called it a freaking spiritual experience. Granted, I like basketball. I'm not going to consider it a spiritual experience, in my opinion, but he was unstoppable last night. And it was an honor to watch Damian just go out there and perform the way that he did that last night. It was special. But give credit where credit is due. Denver stepped up when they needed to, and they showed the world, even despite not having Jamal Murray in the lineup, they made it happen. And right now, they're in the driver's seat for this series.
Yeah. So, I mean, not to discredit Denver, I didn't mean to start it off like I was pro Portland. I just needed to show and talk about the man that basically broke the history books with the performance that he had last night. Just to highlight, like Kyle said, some of the numbers on the box score with Denver. We had Nikola Jokic go for 38, 11, and 9. I did predict him to have a triple-double. He was 1 assist shy, but he also contributed 4 blocks. Michael Porter Jr. stepped up from his poor performance in Game 4 and dropped 26 with 12 rebounds. And then you have Aaron Gordon coming in with 14 points. You had Austin Rivers contributing 18 points. Like Kyle said, Monte Morris off the bench contributed 28 points. And the team just produced very well as a whole. They dominated in every aspect of the word. Everybody contributed some form, some more than others, like anything else. But everybody did what they needed to do. I mean, between 3 players alone, you had Aaron Gordon with 10 rebounds, Michael Porter with 12, Nikola with 11, and then you had Jamarcus Green. I always forget his name. He played on the Clippers last year. JaMychal Green. He had 7 rebounds. So what sticks out to me is Denver ate on the glass last night. Denver just could not be stopped. They had 52 total rebounds, and Portland had 45. So, I mean, Denver had 13 offensive rebounds, and Portland had 10. So it was a very even game in a lot of aspects. But, I mean, you're sitting here and you're looking at this box score for Portland. They only ran 9 players. 9 players in total played last night. Melo had 30 minutes off the bench, and he had 8 points. Absolutely unacceptable. You're supposed to be the guy that everybody was shitting on for the last 2 years, saying he couldn't play. You have a resurgent year last year in the bubble. And then these last couple of playoff games, you've basically been non-existent. To reference the starters, Robert Covington finally stepped up. He had 19 points. Norman Powell had a back down to earth game. He had 13 points. Nurkic, 13 points, but he also fouled out and had 6 turnovers. And then the stat line that addresses me the most, I sent this to Kyle late last night when we saw the final box score. CJ McCollum had 18 points, but shot the ball 2 less times than Damian Lillard and ended the game with 18 points. Damian was 17 of 24. CJ was 7 of 22, a 2-shot difference. Granted, Dame went to the free throw line 8 more times, but the fact that there is a 32-point difference between Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum is absolutely out of this world. Like, there should not be that big of a gap. 55 and 18. Actually, that's not 32. That is
37.
37. A 37-point. Like, are you kidding me? 2 less shots, and you can only put up 18. CJ McCollum has not had a good series thus far. And for Portland to bounce back and try to help Damian Lillard, they are going to need to step up in every facet of the word step up. Like, if CJ's going to put up that many shots, you got to knock down at least half, dude. Because if this man Dame isn't carrying the load with 55, 10, and 6, breaking an NBA record for threes, someone's got to help him. I get it. Everybody had double figures, but the people that did step into this game, the people that did participate they were not helpful enough. And to go forward, a game like this, Dame can't do it all by himself. 55 and 10 should have been enough to lead most teams to a playoff victory. But the fact that on the other end, they could not defend, 147 total points is bad. I mean, it's bad. They couldn't stop any of the starters of the Nuggets. And then, of course, somebody coming off the bench drops almost 30 alone, like Kyle said. Monte Morris went 7 of 18 from the field and had 11 total free throws and made 10 of them. So in order for Denver to hold this lead, they're going to have to continue this dominance. Obviously, we know in Game 4, they went very cold. They were called soft by their head coach, Mike Malone, right? Am I crazy?
Yes.
Yep. Mike Malone. And, for Portland, like I said, someone's got to step up that isn't Damian Lillard, because without a second fiddle, a second running mate, a second set of hot hands, this series is going to end in Portland tomorrow or the next day, whenever that ends up being, because this game was absolutely insane from beginning to end.
Oh, absolutely. It's a game that I imagine we'll be talking about for quite some time just because of Damian's performance.
I can't wait to see what happens in the next one. But, guys, that about wraps it up for this particular segment. If you already haven't, please like, subscribe, comment on these videos on this channel. If you already are, thank you so much for the support. Me and Kyle will continue to put out the best available content whenever we can, and we'll be talking to you guys soon.